Now going to the other side with the bat here for the Mets. And I think the big thing when you look at this lineup and their starters in the field, it's extensions. How can they extend these guys? How can they build that long-term success? And that starts off with the guy that they traded for over the winter, and that's Francisco Lindor, as contract extension talks have started. And it seems like the Mets are going to be almost certainly willing to go over the $300 million mark to lock of Lindor, which as a Mets fan, that's just music to my ears to lock this guy up. You just see him in spring training. I know spring training means nothing, but he's already hitting grand slams. He's already hitting 300. I mean, he can play, and he's going to be hopefully for the next 10 years, he's going to be that cornerstone for the Mets that I think everyone's really been wishing for since David Wright, Jose Rea era. And that's something that I really hope that they can get that done, because he's a guy that he's going to be the guy that leads them to like this new franchise overturn. He was kind of that first move, and now it's time to lock him up.
No, I agree. I think that it is of the utmost importance to make sure that Francisco Lindor is staying for a very long time in New York. Like, otherwise it would all be for naught, kind of like to have the 1 year, like, but you don't get anything else out of it, then what's the point of that? So I definitely think that they are going for something really long-term. And if there's any indication, they could go 14 years, 13 years, for like $330 million, depending on how much they're really willing to spend. And I mean, I think that they have to hit over the $300 million mark, because I mean, look at the precedent, like Manny Machado, Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, Mookie Betts, like they all have like 12-year contracts for over $300 million. So Francisco Lindor is going to be looking for something the same. And I think that the Mets would be crazy to not give that to him. Like, give it to him, give it what he wants, make him stay for 12 years so that you can build an entire Mets franchise around him. And he can be the centerpiece of the Steve Cohen era. He can be like the figurehead of the Mets, So I think it would be so crazy, so dumb if they let him pass for this 1 year, which I know that they won't do.
Yeah, Steve Cohen's not letting that happen. I just know it. Uncle Stevie, he listens to the fans. He's not letting this one go. He knows. And, as you said, the 300 million mark, I mean, for him, he's worth over like 14 billion. This is like almost a drop in the bucket for him. He's going to get this done. I really hope so. And I'm not worried about it. This is maybe the first time, as a Mets fan, where I'm not worried about them giving the big money. I think I was when they signed Yoenis Cespedes, and, when he made that insane run. Jacob deGrom had even got a little shaky, and he's like the consummate team leader that you need. And he was even getting a little shaky with him, and they got him on a great contract. But even that, like, this is the first time we're like, I feel like it's okay. And, you talk about the 13 years, and maybe at the back end of that contract, it's not the best, but I mean, that's an area with, Lindor. If you can get 6-7 good years out of him, I mean, that would just be amazing. The cornerstone, hitting number 3 in your lineup, playing shortstop. I mean, he's really that guy that could be the face of this franchise. And I'm just so excited to see him, play in Citi Field with the orange and blue. That's the one thing this spring I'll be just so happy about.
Yeah, I mean, he is only 27. So so 13 would be a long time, but he still has a lot left in him. He still has probably a good 10 years. Like, you can definitely probably milk a good 10 years, I kind of want to say. And then maybe around the 37-year mark, it'll maybe start to falter a little bit, but so I think that he should be looking at maybe like a 11-year contract with the Mets. So that is my preliminary opinion as not his agent, but
they'll give it to him, I think. And that's something like, especially with the DH coming to the National League, I mean, it's almost certainly going to happen. Then maybe once he hits 35, 36, you could kind of move him into that DH role. Because, I mean, he's the guy that just seems like it's not like he's a power hitter or like a big speed guy. He's a big contact hitter. I mean, yes, he has a speed, great defender, but you just see like his hitting, I think later in his career will age well. And, that's something with Lindor I'm just so excited about. And then another player, not a new player, homegrown player for the Mets, that's Michael Conforto, who's a big team leader on this team, looking for an extension now. And according to New York Post, Mike Puma, he said there's not a lot of movement so far, but they have started contract talks. Both Lindor and Conforto said they wouldn't negotiate during the season. So that's something that you would like to get these two guys locked up. But it's now, it's the 20th now that the show's on, and we're getting close to that opening day. So it's definitely going to be a tight squeeze, but Conforto is a guy you would love to lock up just because he is that homegrown player drafted by the Mets. I mean, came up 2015, jumped onto the scene, helped them make a World Series. I mean, he had 322 last year, 30 home runs in 2019, over 30 home runs, I should say. Good outfielder, corner outfielder that, was a good piece. I mean, if I'm the Mets, it's another step. Give him the money. He deserves it. And I would love to see him stay in the orange and blue for a long time.
Yeah, and I think that, like you said, I think that both of them had said that they will not talk during the season. So if they want to get this, they got to get it really quick. They got to get it pretty soon. But I also had read that they were nowhere near close. So I don't know. It definitely is a little concerning because, like you said, time is running out. If they don't want to talk when season's happening, then you have got to get this done, and you have to get it done soon. And like you said, Conforto is he's just such a team piece, he's a staple. He's essential to the Mets. I feel like he's part of their image as well. And so definitely would be great to have both of those guys out here in the long term. And I mean, for you to actually see them, you can actually see them this summer, Andrew. Like that's very exciting.
I mean, Michael Conforto, he's a guy that I think he's a fan favorite too. And just being homegrown and like that whole core, and they're going to want to lock up that whole core because I know that over the last few years, it's been bumpy. But you see the potential of guys like Pete Alonso, Jeff McNeil. I mean, now the pitching is obviously outstanding with DeGrom, and they're probably going to have to give him a new contract. But, I mean, it just seems like, right now with the Mets, that core, they're going to get paid.